Patients. Harrisburg City Council hosted an executive session prior to the start of our work session this evening. The time is 6:13 p.m. I'd like to officially call our work session to order. Mr. Humphrey, could you please call the roll?
Ms. Davis,
Present.
Ms. Green,
Present.
Mr. Jones,
Here.
Mr. Lawson,
Here.
Ms. Rawls, Mr. Rodriguez,
Present.
Ms. Hill.
Present. Councilwoman Rawls is present. She will be back momentarily. We have quite an agenda, so I'd like to begin with the work of the Building and Housing Committee. I will defer to our Building and Housing Committee Chair, Councilwoman Davis, to lead discussion.
Thank you, President Hill. Good evening, everyone. And I see the Building and Housing team is taking their rightful place. Good evening, everyone. Could you introduce yourselves, please?
I'm Gloria Martin Roberts, Director of Building and Housing.
I'm Ashima Dusty, Program Manager for Community Development.
There you go.
Can you please utilize the microphones, and if you wouldn't mind pulling them close to you so that those listening on Channel 20 and YouTube are able to hear you? Thank you.
Hi, I'm Patrice Dawkins. I am the project manager of Home at ESG.
Thank you. Good evening. Okay, so could someone give us an overview of the Emergency Solutions Grant and tell us what it proceeds to, who it proceeds to serve?
Patrice?
The ESG Emergency Solutions Grant is the subrecipients that it helps the homeless and the outreach for homeless prevention and rapid rehousing.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And I noticed the 2023 allocation equals $168,164 that shall be appropriated to various organizations.
Yes, we're actually doing them all together, 23, 24, and 25.
2024 allocation is $165,432. And the 2025 total allocation is $163,869.
Correct.
Correct? Thank you.
You're welcome.
Christian Churches United. I noticed that depending on whether the city receives a waiver, what's happening with their allocation?
Yeah, I'll address that. Whenever there is a potential conflict of interest, we have to request a waiver from HUD. The Law Bureau indicated that they thought that there was or could be a potential conflict of interest because my daughter works there. There were other, I think, Councilwoman Rawls, which I already notified her that we got the waiver for her, and another entity. HUD has told us verbally that they don't see this as a conflict. So now the Law Bureau has to send a letter to HUD requesting the waiver.
Okay.
So that's what we're waiting for the letter to go to HUD.
Okay. And in the event that the waiver is denied, what would happen with that money?
And that money would be used for other subrecipient.
Okay.
And we would come back to council and request those dollars.
And I just want to make sure that the 2023, 2024, and 2025 allocations are a part of the annual action plan and will be appropriated in the future once that's approved.
That's correct.
That's correct. Okay.
Mhm.
Let's see here. Okay, I don't have any other questions at this time, so I'm going to open it up to my colleagues, starting with Councilman Lawson, far right. Do you have any questions, Councilman Lawson?
No questions at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Green, do you have any questions?
Yes, I have a question. Good evening, and thank you for being here. When we talk about our ESG money, I know that under certain circumstances, the money can be used for disaster response planning. Given the natural disaster that we just recently have had, is that something that we've looked into to ensure that when situations like this come up, we've planned for that?
No, actually, the ESG money can only be used for the homeless initiatives. In terms of the community development block grant, if the activities we want to fund don't fall in line with HUD's national goals, we can't use the dollars for that.
Okay. I do believe ESG money can be used as long as we have a disaster policy as part of our consolidated plan or our annual action plan. So in the future, that's something we can look into because those monies can be used for disaster planning as long as we put those into our annual action plan or our consolidated action plan. So I think that's something the city should look into because it seems like every time it happens, we're running, right? Trying to figure out what's going on, trying to figure out cooling centers. We know heat waves are coming, right? They've been coming just about every year. The storms have been getting worse and worse. Power's been getting knocked out more often. So having those plans in place, I know Chief Interline does natural disaster planning. So maybe just kind of partnering together, having some of that money used from the ESG money, because it seems like every year it goes to the same organizations, which do a wonderful job. But I do believe that having those plans prepared beforehand will help the city to be ready. So that if something happens, we already have organizations identified, facilities available, and money put to the side to make it happen. Because when it happens, you know, it's a matter of hours, not days or months. So if we could look into that for our future monies, I would really appreciate that.
I will look into that, and I will give you something in writing on that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, President, Councilwoman Green. Vice President Jones, do you have any questions?
No real questions. I've been able to sit with your department and get a clear understanding of what's happening here. But I also do want to say that I agree with Councilwoman Green on that move. So I would be interested in seeing that being sent over as well. No further
I will
questions.
send the response to all council members so you all have it.
All right. No questions.
Thank you. President Hill, questions?
Thank you. Good evening. I don't have any questions related to this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Rawls, do you have questions?
Thank you. Good evening to all of you. Thank you for being here tonight. I look forward to you sending over the information about how we can use the ESG funds for emergency disaster plans. I know we approved one. That was the same question I had because I wasn't sure if we were able to or not. So I look forward to that. So thank you.
You're welcome.
That's it from me.
Thank you. Councilman Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, ladies, for being here this evening. My questions actually were asked already, but thank you for being here this evening with
You're
us.
welcome.
I have two more questions. The first one is, in terms of the grant administration funding, there are various amounts, one for 2023, 2024, and 2025. For the record, what are the responsibilities of that grant, or what does that grant proceed to do?
For the administration, that would be for staff, and for each federal program that we have for home, ESG, and for CDBG, there are different percentages that we are permitted to apply to staffing.
Okay, so the grant administration funding is specifically for staffing. Is that correct? Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And in the event the CCU funding cannot be utilized or the waiver is not approved, could that funding go towards the other agencies? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, well, those are all my questions, and if no one else has any questions, I'm going to ask that this bill be placed on our next legislative agenda. Thank you. Mr. Humphrey, could you read Bill 10 into the record, please?
Bill 10 of 2026, an ordinance appropriating home investment partnerships program funds from the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development for fiscal years 2023, 2024, and 2025, and authorizing expenditure of such funds.
Thank you. Okay, so could someone give us an overview of the home initiative?
The home development is for chodos and for new developers that are trying to do build homes or low to moderate homes for the city of Harrisburg.
What does that acronym stand for the record, for
Chodo.
our residents? Yes, CHDO.
Oh gosh,
Does anyone remember?
I can't remember off the top of my head.
Community housing.
Community Housing Development Organization.
Community Housing Development Organization.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I will start with questioning to my immediate right with Councilman Rodriguez, and then I'll come back and ask my questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Once again, I have no questioning. I'm pretty familiar with the process, but I appreciate you all joining us this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Rodriguez. Councilwoman Rawls?
Thank you. I was just wondering, where typically will the unallocated funds go to? Because I know that's there for all 3 years. So I'm just wondering, looking ahead, where could those funds go to that are under unallocated?
The unallocated funds would then fold into the 2026 funding. And so, when we come back to you in terms of the infrastructure, remember, we're going to go infrastructure, those monies would be there.
Right, yes, we did say we'll use more for the infrastructure. Okay,
Yes. Mhm.
Thank you very much. That's all
You're
of my
welcome.
questions.
Thank you. President Hill, questions?
Thank you. Yes, I do have some questions related to the home program. I just wanted to know the current status of the home program.
Well, currently we do have one application in for home. It's from Wild Heart. It's called the Gateway, and they're trying to build at 13th and Market, somewhere around there. And on the bottom there would be like a coffee shop or some type of business, and up top would be about, I think, 6 to 8 units.
Okay. My next question is, how many families have been served through this program?
Well, in the past, from when I took on from home, I know with TLC, he has built some on the Hill, 15th and Virginia.
Wait, let's go back. When did you take over? So I'm speaking for
In
the
2020.
fiscal years 2023, 2024, and 2025, since those are noted here.
We haven't been able to do anything yet, so we came down here to council.
Okay.
So.
This is an application process. I want to, so you understand it. So it's developers that are interested in building low to moderate income housing and so forth in our community. So it is an application process.
I'm aware.
And with no timeline, like it's not going to expire next month.
No, I understand. I was just thinking for the fiscal years noted, how many families have been served. Have we met our benchmarks?
There's really no benchmarks for the home funds. They never expire.
Okay. Well, I don't know if these two are premature questions or not. I guess they're probably not going to be able to be answered. But I was just curious if any local businesses were contracted through this program. And if so, were any minority-owned or women-owned businesses contracted through this program? But
No.
I guess the answer is no, or nothing's happened.
And we do promotion through the website of the city of Harrisburg. So, and then we get some calls, but some applications don't even meet the standard to even qualify through the process of the application process. And that also goes through our consultants, Civitas.
Mm-hmm. Is Eric still the primary contact
Yes.
there? Yeah. Okay. I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Vice President Jones.
I'm just happy that finally this money is available and we can do something. But just when you go through your application process, I believe you guys shared your rubric that you're going to use, and we'll be able to see. Did my colleagues, did you guys see that? No?
No, we sent it to you.
Okay.
We'll send it to the rest of you tomorrow.
All right, yeah, I think that'd be good, so
Okay.
everybody can see the transparency and how we're actually choosing the people that are applying for these applications. So I think that's vital for them to get as well. No further questions.
Thank you. Councilwoman Green.
Thank you. I don't have any questions regarding this.
Thank you. Councilman Lawson, any questions?
Thank you. Actually, Vice President Jones answered or asked the question that I wanted to get information just on how people apply for the funds, what's the criteria. And then we're looking back a few years here. So these are applications that were processed a while back, and now the funds are being allocated from, I guess, the federal government, and then now we're able to release it. Is that kind of the process that we're in right now?
Are you talking about home or are you talking about CDBG?
Well, I guess I was looking at CDBG, but I was talking about home. That's what I was doing.
All right.
I looked down on my paper.
Those monies are always open and available for application.
Okay.
The home.
The home is, but the home does not follow the rubric. That's only for CDBG and ESG.
Right. I'm sorry.
That's
When I
okay.
looked at my
No, that's
paper,
okay.
I just conflated two things. But right now we're talking about the home, and so that's money that's always available, and it's easy to use. Okay.
Yes.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Councilwoman Rawls.
Yes, I just had one question from a resident. We mentioned Wild Heart and them receiving some money from the home program to do homes, I believe, on Market Street. Is it any connection with their blueprint communities? I know those are in Allison Hill, but is this money coming out for any of? Is what they're building on Market Street have anything to do with the blueprint communities?
No.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And I just have one more question. Have there been any identified CHDO companies to receive funding from this grant as of yet?
No.
Not yet. Okay. Okay. Well, thank you for answering my questions, our questions. I will ask that Bill 10 be forwarded to the next legislative meeting for an official vote. Okay, let's move on to Resolution 59. Mr. Humphrey, could you please read Resolution 59 into the record?
Resolution 59 of 2026, a resolution approving the 2026 Annual Action Plan for the City of Harrisburg for the Community Development Block Grant, Home Investment Partnerships, and Emergency Solutions Grant Programs.
Thank you. Would someone like to give us an overview of the Annual Action Plan?
Okay, the annual action plan breaks down how we plan to proceed with our federal funding for 2026. And we, as we mentioned, are going towards infrastructure. And it just outlines how all the money is allocated basically for the city of Harrisburg.
Okay, thank you. I have a question in reference to the priority needs, page 4, section 108, loan repayment. There is a goal here, and I'd like to know how much money was borrowed for the 2000-2003 Capital Corridor infrastructure improvement and the David Dodd project. That project is at the corner of Cameron and Her.
I don't have with me the amount that they borrowed that preceded me, but we will be paying it off in August. The loan will be satisfied in August of this year,
Okay, you don't have
and that's in the budget.
an amount for either project tonight?
No, but I can send that to you.
Would you please? Thank you very much.
Yep.
Where can the repayment section on the loans be found?
In your budget? Mhm. You have your budget with you?
Can you give us the page? This is for the annual action plan? Is it the budget book? Okay.
Three of the ordinances tonight are separate federal budget ordinances, and the annual action plan reflects all three. So I don't know which funds you're talking about at the moment, which are the programs.
CDBG.
So that's Bill 8.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. I don't have any further questions for the annual action plan. I'll open the floor to my colleagues, starting with Councilman Lawson. Any questions?
No questions. Thank you.
You're welcome. Councilwoman Green.
I don't have any questions regarding this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Vice President Jones.
No questions.
Thank you. President Hill.
I just wanted to review the timeline of events. So I know that your public hearing was held last week, and that started the public comment period. How long is the public comment period for the benefit of those watching and listening? And then we will vote on the final annual action plan on August the 11th. But can we talk about how we get there first?
Yeah. We held our public meeting here in council chambers on the 1st of July. Public comment period started July 2nd. It ends July 30th. If we don't receive any public comments, then we just keep moving through our process. If we do receive public comments, they go to HUD. And then we have to provide an explanation, a written explanation to the person submitting their public comments.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, President Hill. Councilwoman Rawls.
No, I don't have any questions.
Thank you, Councilman Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I too had questioning geared towards like the timeline, the timing, but you've already identified from the July 1st meeting all the way through, so I have no further questions for this. Thank you.
Thank you. You mentioned that the public comments that come in you would send them to HUD, but can you tell us, as well as for our viewers, the addresses where people can actually make the public comments?
Mm-hmm. Let me read that to you. And by the way, a packet can be reviewed in our office on the second floor of this building. We have to keep a copy out into the public so the public can come and read it and so forth. So do you have the address right there? You want to read it?
Yes. Where they can email us their questions or concerns. It's at dbhdhousing@harrisburgpa.gov. So that's where they can send us their comments regarding the annual action plan.
Okay, thank you. So that website, as well as in person, is there any other
That email.
avenue?
Oh, sorry. I'm listening.
You gave me two avenues that residents can make public comments. Is there any other address or?
Yeah, that was the email, and then we gave them the address
Physical
of
address.
this physical address, which is 10 North 2nd Street, Suite 206, and in Harrisburg, PA 17101.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that concludes my questioning. If no one else has any questions, I would submit this to August 11th legislative session for an official vote. And back to you, President Hill.
Thank you very much. We will move forward with our meeting agenda. Next, we have the Budget and Finance Committee. I will defer to our Budget and Finance Committee Chair, Vice President Jones, to lead discussion.
Thank you, President Hill. Mr. Humphrey, can you read Resolution 55?
Resolution 55 of 2026, a resolution approving the fourth proposed 2026 budget reallocation.
Thank you. You guys are free to go.
Yeah, because we see that we may come up for Bill 8, but yeah.
Did you say we're free?
Mr. Saunders is here. Parks and Rec. I guess Mr. Brian McCutcheon as well. You can sit up on this. Mr. West as well. So with this resolution, this was in committee. We had stopped it. We are already reallocating some money within this resolution. We put it in committee because we had some other items that we have to deal with. So just for the public's edification, and we are clear, our last session with Resolution 55, we were discussing allocating or reallocating $1.9 million where we stopped several of our capital projects to find money to pay for invoices that incurred during some of these projects. So I want to be clear with that it's a separate pot. The total amount is there as 4.2 is what's been in the news. However, the 1.9, we actually do know how we're paying for that. The next portion, we still are working on some things, so we will be discussing the 2.3 at a later date. However, I will be asking my colleagues to move this forward into the next legislative session. However, we also do still have some questions that we want to ask, not just for ourselves, but also for the public as well. Everybody's paying attention to this, so we just want to, be transparent about what's happening and what we're dealing with here. So I'll start with Mr. Saunders and ask you to give us best explanation of how we got to this point.
The microphone's not on. Thank you.
So I'm going to address the reallocation, the purpose of the reallocation itself.
1.9?
Yes.
Okay.
The purpose of the reallocation request is to secure funding for project work that remained incomplete as of March 3rd to 2026. This includes work at all project sites with a primary goal of reaching full project completion where possible. 3 sites, Wilson Park, Gorgas, and 7th Radnor, have been completed in full. Work at Reservoir Park has begun, and equipment has already been secured by the city. However, the site remains incomplete, and the project is currently delayed. The 3 sites were visited by the Department of Community Economic Development for review in April of 2026. Each site was completed and met grant standards. It was a team decision to complete the projects to avoid possible findings for GCD that may result in no beneficiaries being recognized. That's why we're here tonight.
So you said that all of this was a team effort.
Correct.
So usually when these type of projects get done, who's in charge? Is it Mr. West? Is it facilities, or is it Parks and Rec?
Again, I believe in this specific project, this was a team effort. The way that the team was developed starts back years ago, goes back to 2022, at the end of 2022 into 2023. At the end of the project, some changes had been made where we were in the lead role, but that wasn't how the project started.
So where we're at now, where we know that we potentially have to return some funding, correct? So my question to you is, how did that happen? How did we get to that point to where we did not meet the deadlines? I know that there were 4 extensions given on these projects, and that's all of the parks. First, let me go back. In 2022, if I'm correct, this grant was made available for the city, if I'm correct, right?
The end of like October 2020, 22.
22. I
Yes.
want to say 2022. So that gave us 4 years to spend $13 million.
Well, the end of the year doesn't mean we were starting.
No, we still had 4 years or more to spend $13 million. So I'm trying to figure out what happened and why did we have to potentially give this money back. We had ample time to get through these projects, and I'm just looking for answers of what happened. Where did we drop the ball?
Well, I think to clarify, projects, it takes some projects 3, 4, 5 years to complete. You have to remember, we also went through a lot of changes in the world. Look at steel, the cost, oil, the cost. A lot of cost changes in the last 4 years have played a significant role in where some delays happen. You have change, you have turnover, you have lots of things that can happen in the course of a project. But however, when you're talking about part of what you're saying is not on the discussion tonight.
Yeah, it is open for discussion because, again, these are the things that we have coming down the pipe. We're going to be back here for another reallocation. So, again, at some point, we're going to have to have this conversation, So we got to ask these questions. I'm going to ask my questions, and I don't want to take up all the time because I know my colleagues, and I will, go ahead. I will get back. I will come back to you with some more questions. But if you have something, Mr. West, feel free.
Yes. Good evening, Council. There was multiple things happened, again, like when the project started through the weather conditions played a role, and certain periods that they could not work. Some transitions took place with contractors. There was a transition of park recreations and park maintenance that transitioned from facilities to.
That's where I want to interrupt you for a second because you're giving me 3 different.
I can give you 6 to 10 different things.
No, I'm talking about departments involved.
The departments involved were.
Do we have the org chart? We don't.
It's in the budget book.
Budget book. Yeah, I wanted to. No worries. Go ahead.
If you're just asking about the transition of the departments, the transition that went from facilities to public works. That's that transition.
Okay.
That happened. But if you want to talk about the delays in the project, then you want to talk about the entire piece of everything, which means the contractors, the weather,
So my question is, let me make this simple. Okay. When did the projects, all of them, when did they start versus when the grant was available for the city?
I agree. You stated 2022.
So that's when all of these projects started in 22?
That's when the paperwork and everything involved started to happen.
Okay,
in 22. The actual project itself, as far as the work, did not start in 22. We had to put everything together. First, that took time before we were able
designs,
everything, designs and you engineering. You have your whole design that you have to go over with the department of the way we're going to move. That took a long period of time, and then you have to deal with setting up the contractors before you can start the work. There's so much involved with what you have to do,
and it ended up eventually. We still even with this reallocation, this 1.9 that we still have to fork up, right? So my question to Mr. Saunders, you said that you guys purchased equipment. So we did get the equipment. So part of the reason why this clawback is happening, you weren't able to get the work done, but you did purchase equipment. Am I correct on that?
That's correct.
Are we even including the splash pad equipment that goes underneath of the pavilion? Is that paid for? Do we have that?
That's the equipment I'm referring to.
Okay. So I'm gonna pause right now, and I'm gonna open up the floor for my colleagues, and I'm going to start with my immediate left with President Hill.
Thank you. I wanted to go back to the reference that all project sites you mentioned, the discussion about the 2.3 million. Can you please share all of the project sites?
Sure. Do you want me to start at the end or the originals?
Let's start with the originals and then maybe work our way to the end.
Okay. The original project sites were Jackson Lake Swimming Pool, Reservoir Park, Splash Pad, Wilson Park, 7th and Radnor, and Gorgas.
Okay, and then in the end, it became what?
At the end, it was Reservoir Park, Splash Pad, Wilson, 7th and Radnor, and Gorgas. Jackson Lick was removed. The $5 million was spread out through the other project sites. That was done at the end of 2024.
Okay.
December 2024.
Okay. And the ultimate team decision, I wanted to go back to that. You said it was a team decision. So who was a part of the team making the decision?
Decision for?
I don't know. You said this was a team decision. I'm assuming that the fact that you missed the March 3rd deadline.
Yes. So if we didn't complete the projects, and Mr. Jones has referenced the callback would be much larger if we didn't continue to finish, because we would not have met beneficiary for GCD. If we would have just stopped on March 3rd, it would have potentially been closer to $12 million.
Okay. I don't think I have any other questions. I just think that, again, we know that the headlines read, the city celebrated the grand opening of the upgraded Wilson Park and the revitalized Gorgas Playground at 7th and Radnor. Now, these just happened June 8th, 2026, May 20th, 2026. I think that it's just unfortunate, I guess, to say the least. Why are we having ribbon cuttings and celebrating when we haven't finished paying our bills? That just doesn't seem right to me. I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Councilwoman Ross.
Thank you and good evening. Of course, with being Chair of Parks and Recreation, I have some questions. I know I do speak to you all, but there were some things that I was unaware of and weren't brought to my attention when it comes to these projects. So I think I just really wanted to clarify a question President Hill said. She was asking, like, who was the team who was making the decisions? And just with some background with being Chair of Parks and Recreation and the different organizations that were on the chart that we had from the time I started my first term and now. I think she's asking, like, was the team at beginning Mr. Baker, Dave Baker, Deb Reinhardt, then it changed over to Sasha Ross, Mr. Saunders, and Dave West. That was the team who was making the decisions on these projects. I think that would.
Thank you for clarifying.
There was more project managers throughout the project as well.
Then that's what she was. So who are the other project managers? Because I didn't.
We didn't end the project with them. The last project manager left in August of 2025.
What was their name?
Ms. Perez. Ms. Perez.
Ms. Perez. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. My question is, what capital projects? I know there's the capital projects fund some money will be removed from there, I believe. What projects will be affected because of that? I was looking on the budget form. I could be incorrect, but it had said that. So maybe Mr. McCutcheon. Unless you want to talk about it later, I don't have to ask that now.
No, I'm fine to answer that now. Yes. Good evening, City Council members.
Good evening.
Yes, Councilwoman Rawls, the 500,000. It was the request is to reduce the capital line in the facilities, not really the capital projects fund within the general fund.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for explaining that more.
Sure.
I just wanted to know if there were going to be any projects affected, but you explained that more. I don't really have a lot of questions. I think just my concern moving forward is making sure, and I've said this before, we're all on the same page. These were big projects. It was something the city has been waiting for, and I think we were all saddened to hear that we were unable to spend all the money in the correct time frame and that we had so many extensions. So I think everybody just wants to know what happened, where did the ball fall? And I mean, I think it is hard to take accountability when something doesn't go the way it's supposed to. Nobody wants to be put in front and be blamed for what happens. But I think what I would like to see, and I think the city would like to see, and the residents would like to see, is that when we take accountability for things that we don't show up for or we don't do, regardless of how hard that is. So if somebody didn't spend the money in a timely fashion because maybe they didn't know how to go about spending the grant money correctly, or looking onto the site to make sure that these companies were allowed to be part of the grant money or had permission to get the grant money, because I know that was one area of concern. But just making sure that we are, I want to get my words right, because my mom says you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all. So I'm not stumbling on words, I'm stumbling on making sure I'm saying the right ones. It's just that accountability piece. There were too many chiefs. There were too many chiefs, there were too many people not communicating for whatever reason it was, whether it was because they were upset with somebody or I don't know. But what I do know is the ball was dropped. What I do know is the communication was failed. What I do know is that we were given money and many extensions, and we did not spend it in a timely fashion. We ordered equipment, we didn't put it in. Then we started with 4 projects, or we started with 5 projects, we ended with 4. We took Jackson Lick out, we put this project in, and there goes one place that the ball dropped, because who took the project out? Who put another project in? If the deadline was March the 3rd, why did we continue to spend money? Who signed off on that? Who gave the okay? Who communicated it? Who didn't communicate it? We got to get on the same page. That's the big thing. We have to get on the same page. We're all here to help, but if you don't know how to do something and you don't understand how something is done, ask for help. I think that's the best way I can say it, in the most respectful way. There's lots of things that I don't know how to do, but I'm going to reach out. I'm going to ask for help, because this is what happens when we don't. And as a city, I'm tired of seeing us in the news for everything that's going wrong, everything that we do wrong, but we do so many good things. So I'm just going to end that there.
All right, you sure? So I just want to say this, just for the public and everybody that's paying attention to us. Like, you know, it's kind of unfair for us as a city, right? It's embarrassing for us as a city. Well, we want to be clear on how, I think she's mentioned it several times, communication. Most of the time, so the public understands this, you guys know this, but I don't think our residents understand that a lot of the day-to-day is administrative. So council isn't there to, even though we chair these committees, we're not there to oversee or, you know, be involved with those things that happen within the city projects, right? So the frustration for us comes when it's not being communicated to us, and then we have to come in and make decisions. We got to answer questions from the media. They don't really come to you guys, they come to us. So we have to find out what happened. That way, those questions can be asked by the appropriate individuals, right, and answered. So I think again, and I think that we are working towards that as a body and administration to have these conversations so we can have less and less of these type things that occur in the city, and the frustration levels can be down for us. So I just wanted to share that with the community. If you had something?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So again, as I stated at the last council meeting, and I was sitting at this table, I wasn't blaming any other departments. I was just sharing that the process will be changed going forward for the responsibility and the direction to be as under me as far as I can speak for the Public Works Department. The process will be different in what we're doing, and any accountability that needs to be held will be under me. And I'll be sitting at the table to let you know that if anything happens going forward, that is my fault as a director of Public Works and the department is being under Public Works. I just wanted to state that for the record.
Again, thank you for the accountability, right? And that's all we're asking. That's our jobs here, to make sure people are held accountable for their actions, right? But again, the goal here is to make sure that we can get our projects done, because we still have to fix Reservoir Park. There's no question, ifs, ands, or buts about that. But we want to make sure as a body that we put the money in the right hands. Not saying it's the wrong hands, but we want to make sure it's going to the right place. And I think what Councilwoman Ross was alluding to is just, and I asked you this question, Mr. Saunders, who usually does these projects, right? Is it facilities? Public Works shouldn't be building, right? I mean, you could tear down stuff and do demo and all that, but I don't think that's a developing department. We have a special facility. We have a department for that. And I think for me, I would like to see those projects of that magnitude. And again, not saying anyone lacks experience, but in the right hands so that we can get these projects done. And I'll go to Councilman Rodriguez.
Thank you, VP Jones. Thank you all for joining us this evening. It's an unfortunate circumstance when you see it in the media that the city, has to return these funds that go to the future, to our children, to parks, to places where we can keep them safe and, out of harm's way. It doesn't matter how much positivity we pour into this, because the negativity is always going to get the highlight, right? Like, a lie will, get around the world twice before the truth could even get their shoes on. And that's the God honest word. So Director West, I highly appreciate you, as we said, in our last section, taking accountability for it. But I don't think any of our intention is to point blame. It's just that as a city, if we're applying for a grant, we're expecting that the measures, and mechanisms are already in place to manage the grant, right? And these are questions that we ask time in and time out. While we're applying, while we're going for these monies, are we prepared for it? Do we have the capacity to? These are just questions we ask consistently, and we're told, yes, we'll be fine. And when we give it the go, it's just, it's unfortunate that we have to overpromise and underdeliver when it comes to our youth, to our families, to safe places, to safe havens. And it's nothing I'm not telling you, your team that you don't already know. Kevin, you're in these parks with the youth all the time. You see the smiles on their face and the happiness we could bring. It's just unfortunate. And I know I speak for council when I say this, our phones ring constantly, saying we slipped up, or well, how could you guys let the ball drop like that? And, without them understanding how it actually works, it's complicated. So I don't mind taking the earful for the residents that, got me here, because I like to listen more than I like to talk at the end of the day. But it's just disheartening that, this is kind of the route we're taking. I guess my question, if I did have to ask any, because my colleagues, pretty much covered it, but I guess to Director Saunders, when did you feel the project was becoming out of reach? And it could be kind of two-parted. How did you know? So I guess, when did you feel these projects were slipping away? And then also, how did you become aware of this?
So again, I think a few things that might be getting lost is we started construction in summer of 2025, and we went all the way until December, and we saw we needed to get some extensions. We reported that to everyone. We got a couple more extensions to March 3rd. That was the most in-depth one they would give us. We felt that we could finish Wilson Park, 7th, and Radnor and Gorgas up to specific spots. We got really close to those spots. At Wilson Park, there were some additional issues, but at 7th and Radnor, we were almost finished at that site. But Wilson, a line got hit, and that was unfortunate. But where that line got hit caused delays in areas we were unable to get reimbursed. It wasn't something that was sought out. We've had that rectified with the consultant and the team that hit it. We held them fully responsible for that, but it did affect the outcome. But I wouldn't want to say that that's the end result. I think how the project starts, how we went through the project. There's a lot of learning curves, a lot of things that were done. There were 2 PMs to start the project. We ended with 0. We stepped in and took a higher leadership role at a specific time period. I think that a lot of things could just be done a little different. I think that understanding the entire picture, it sort of puts perspective of how much actually got accomplished with this level of project. We've never tackled this type of project where we're putting in this level of utilities and things of that nature. Previously, we did do some projects in the city, but we didn't put that level of infrastructure in. We had no findings and no issues. And those projects were led from Parks and Rec. And those were Rural Terrace, Cloverly Heights, 4th and Dolphin, Penn and Safert, Norwood and Holly. And those parks all got done. We had no issues like this. They're different, but they're done and they're up and they're running. So I think, the proof is where it's at. That's all I got to say.
Interesting. Thank you for that. Is there any fear that our grantors will be reluctant making us grantees in future applications? Because from a state level, they might look at it as, they fumbled or dropped the ball previously, or with this few $1 million, we won't really, allocate these dollars to them. How will the city be able to move forward with projects such as this without getting grant dollars, if that's the case moving forward?
I don't necessarily look at this as a fumble. I think it's more of a learning curve.
I would disagree.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's financial, but there's just some things that need to be done at the beginning of any project. And I think that when those things are done and they're executed and they're done timely, you don't run in these situations. But again, that's part of a, it's a process.
I respect that. I just think anytime you have to forfeit grant funding would be a fumble. It would be a fumble. I think looking at that from any parameters or any optics, and this isn't pointing the blame at anyone, I wouldn't know, who to blame even if we tried, but I don't think our goal up here, sitting up here, would be to pointing fingers, right? It's just how do we come up with a solution moving forward? Because my biggest fear is we apply next year and years after, and the state's like, we can't do that again. So that's my biggest fear. And, without the proper grant management or mechanisms put in place to manage grants, how do we really move forward? Engineering is under public works, so I do see that as a benefactor. And, to Director West's point, hopefully we have those mechanisms put in place next time. But it's just, it's rather disheartening. But, it's tough decisions we have to make on a daily basis. Director Saunders, my last question was, you had alluded to, as it got closer to March 3rd, it would have been over $12 million. What do you mean by that? Can you elaborate?
If we didn't continue after March 3rd at these sites, we would have had to pay back. We would have to pay everything back. You got to be done. You got to show that. You have to be able to show that the park is usable. Wilson Park wasn't usable on March 3rd, but when we went out in April, it was usable. It's ready to go. These are very critical timelines. We accomplished in the month of just really in 4 weeks, we accomplished a lot at Wilson Park specifically. The park was not ready on March 3rd to be used by the public. So that money could have been all clawed back.
Okay.
Not just one park. It could have been other parks.
Okay.
It was and that's what was in the grant language.
Okay.
And we did provide that update. Yeah.
Understood. I don't want to take up too much time. I'm just trying to wrap my head around it and make a little bit more sense of it. But I do appreciate, everyone's hard work and the work we have accomplished with the parks. It's just unfortunate when we hear this and the headline is always the negativity instead of either the work that has gotten done or the attempts at it. But, it's not about the attempts. I hope moving forward, what we apply for, we're able to manage and complete. Because as the capital city of Pennsylvania, we should set the precedent of what that looks like. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Councilwoman Davis.
Thank you. I have one question. Mr. Saunders, Director Saunders, you mentioned that there are quite a few things that you would have had to do, looking back in hindsight, on the front end to prevent this money having to go back. What are some of those things that you would do differently?
I'm gonna think about before I respond to that.
Excuse me?
I'm gonna think about that a little bit before I respond. Let me talk to Dave real quick.
You have to think about it. Oh,
Yes.
you want to have a conversation? Okay. You would do things different.
All right, thank you. Okay. Yes, so things have been different, as Mr. West has just said. The way that we would have set things up, there would have been one project manager. There would have been a lot more input with our planning department, a lot more input with our engineering department at the very beginning of the project. We would have had team meetings before we picked the consultant team. We would have mapped out different things. We would have went to did site visits, and we would have checked other locations. We would have went to visit cities that are very similar to the city of Harrisburg to make sure that we're getting something that's similar but better for our dollar. We would have did a bigger research project before we picked a team, and that the team of consultants. We would have done certain things in that process. There would have been a definitive team that was going to break down the equipment, break down these different aspects as we got moving throughout the project. And we would have buttoned up some other things that I believe we could have actually had a better approach with during the project that we tried to do, but not necessarily they got accomplished.
Thank you. And as my colleagues mentioned, communication. If you need help, just ask for it. We're a team. That's all I have. Thank you.
Before I move on, did you have a question?
Thank you. Sorry, it went on and off. Thank you for laying out the things that you would have done differently, or that you all as a team would do differently moving forward with these projects. Also saying that before you didn't have such large projects, and this was the biggest one, taking on, especially with such a large pot of grant money. But you said something that I also think moving forward should be done differently. If the extension was March 3rd and that was the deadline, then even when you went out in April and the park was, I think you said feasible. I don't want to miss your words, but I think there too differently should have been done was like, okay, before we go and spend this money, we need to get okay. Before we go spend this money, let's speak as a group. Let's speak to council or speak to administration, because that is also where, as Councilman Rodriguez said, the money got fumbled because you're not supposed to spend it after the deadline. When you do that, now we owe it back instead of saying, okay, I need to stop. We're not going to make this deadline. We need to regroup. We need to figure out what next steps are instead of going and spending. And that's just the communication part, because that's where the news comes in and, oh, Harrisburg fumbled the money. And it's like, well, okay. But instead of coming and saying, this is what happened, what can we do next? So I would have helped as much as I could. I know I don't know that much about spending grant money and things, but I know when a deadline's a deadline, I can't do anything else. So I just think that's what we were trying to point out with the communication part. So that was it for me. Thank
I
you.
want to
Go
clarify.
ahead.
The
Yeah.
reallocation is to pay vendors.
I'm sorry, say that
The
again. Mr.
reallocation is to pay vendors.
The 1.9.
Yeah, I just want to
But,
point
but
that
there
out.
was money spent after the deadline, though.
Yeah, to pay vendors. That's what this 1.9 is to cover, is actually paying vendors. And in some
Right.
cases, the vendors were a little bit behind in their work. But I do understand what you're saying.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not misunderstanding you.
Because I remember one time you said you can't prepay for landscaping and stuff. But okay, and I get that.
Yeah.
But if you don't make it to the deadline to be able to pay, you can't continue to use the grant money unless I'm missing something.
No, you're correct.
Okay.
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Councilman Jones, just real quick, because my phone started blowing up when you had mentioned that. So the 1.9 goes back to vendors on top of the dollars that we have to send back to the state for not being able to complete.
That's what I was explaining.
Yeah,
It's two different.
just for the residents. Thank you. Yep, thank you.
Councilwoman Green.
Thank you very much. Oh, no, it's all right. Most of my questions have kind of been asked and answered. I think this is more of a statement. I definitely think having a clear delineation of who's in charge of the project helps, because I know for me in particular, the conversation last week left me a little confused compared to what we had been seeing over the last couple of years of who's doing the presentations and who's at the ribbon cuttings and talking about all the great things that are happening, than to come back and say, oh, wasn't exactly me, wasn't exactly us, it was more to the team, and it was this and it was that. I understand that there was a transition somewhere towards the beginning of when this project took place, transition of Parks and Recs underneath a different department. And obviously when that transition happened, knowing that we had such large projects and grant money, that should have been something that was a priority to discuss to make sure that was taken care of. Getting the grants is sometimes the easy part. It's administering them that's the hard part. And I think that's something the city knows, because we're even very careful when we have subrecipients of our grant money to ensure that the paperwork's in place before we give them the money, because if not, it falls back on us to have to pay it back. So I think that's something the city understands. So it is disappointing that this project wasn't completed so that we could benefit from all of the grant money that we have received. I also think that it's unfortunate because it puts us in a situation of now having to come out of pocket to finish projects that might not have been a priority if we had had the time to do it right. I don't think it was a rush to put a spray alley into Reservoir Park. If we had taken the time to plan it out, we might have done this over a multi-year phase, longer than this. The projects that were done, they look great. I've taken my nephew to Wilson. I've taken him up to Division. So it's a lot of projects that the community's benefiting from. I just think as we're looking at it from a fiscally responsible point of view, we have to understand where that falls and where it puts the city at as far as the obligations we now have to make for sure our vendors are paid, but then also make for sure that a project that kids could play on last year or the year before is now at a state where they can't play on. And so we have to get it to where it was and beyond. And obviously that's going to cost the city more money, not also bringing into the fact that we don't know what other bills might still be rolling in that we have to account for. So just kind of looking at this reallocation, I want to thank all of the different departments who have made the sacrifice to come up with some of this money, pulling from unspent areas in their budget and kind of tightening those purse strings to make for sure that we're able to make this happen. My question is to Parks and Rec, have you guys looked at your budget and anything that you've underspent? Because I know last year we had a large amount that was underspent, and I kind of want to know, are we monitoring that this year? Where are we at with our summer hiring? I know that Reservoir Park obviously may not have had as many kids as we would have expected since the project wasn't finished. So are we looking at those avenues of revenue to ensure that we're helping to cover these costs as the other departments are making sacrifices as well?
Yes.
Okay, and can you give us an update as far as how many people have been hired over the summer, how much has been spent, ensuring that we are on task with that? I do believe we added a significant amount of extra money this year to ensure that we had proper summer staffing. How are we doing with that as far as our lifeguards, as far as security at the pools, as far as monitors at the playgrounds? How are we as far as our enrollments compared to the cost per child? Let's start looking at numbers, right? Because I think that too often we say it's the kids, and then we wait until the end, and then it's kind of like, well, we need more money because it's the kids, or no, we underspent because it's the kids. Or let's start like tracking it now. I'd like to see the numbers as far as how many people were hired so far. What's the pay rate for the staff that has been hired? The average pay rate. How many are at each park? How many enrollments are at each park? I'd like to see those numbers and kind of see where we are at this point in the summer, and then how much longer we have left in the summer, so we can kind of get the idea of where we are in our spending. So that's my request. I understand you probably won't have those numbers off the top of your head, but I would like those before our next legislative session. And to break that down again, I would like to know the number of employees hired compared to the number of employees we anticipated hiring for our summer program. The number of youth enrolled at each park compared to the number of youth we estimated to be hired at each program. Enrolled at each program. The number of lifeguards hired compared to the number of lifeguards we expected to be hired. The number of security hired compared to the security we expected to be hired. So all those numbers that we asked for, or at least that I remember clearly asking for as we created the budget and asked for that breakdown for Parks and Recs numbers, I'd like those numbers as they are to date. That's my only request, and I guess my only question. Thank you. It was a lot.
Councilman Ross, lost.
Knew she was going to come back again, so we'll save the space for you, Councilman Ross. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming out here. Most of my questions have been asked and answered, but it does open another question. This was presented to us as if this were a something that came upon us that we weren't aware of, but it sounds like we were aware of this quite some time ago. When did we figure out that we weren't going to make our final deadline? And I guess it's a two-part question. So we knew we weren't going to make March 3rd, but were we unaware of the fact that we were not going to get an extension? Is that where the crisis hit? That's what I'm trying to figure out. When did we find out that we weren't going to hit it, and when did we find out we weren't going to get an extension? Correct, another extension.
Yeah, we weren't going to, pretty much in end of December, going into January. They said the last extension would be March 3rd. I don't have exact date, but it was in that end of the year. We did have a meeting with DCD, and they said that they could get us March 3rd. I think that we all thought we might still squeeze one more out, but that was not what happened.
Okay, thank you. Because the way it was presented to us, this was well after March 3rd when we were told that we weren't going to get the other extension. So that probably goes back to that communication. So it doesn't come to council as a crisis at that moment when we're seeing the funds being clawed back, where yes, it was going to be a crisis regardless, but we didn't get a chance to digest it until we were at a position to where, hey guys, this is an emergency situation. We have to start doing some other things. And I'm not a person who likes to point fingers and look for blame, but look for solutions on how we go forward. I think you sound like we have the workings of a plan for the future, so that we're not in this position again. And I guess I have to applaud you for preventing us from losing the full 13 and getting things done so that we do move things forward. But we still have to figure out how to not let ourselves get into this situation in the future. Are there processes in place to kind of follow these grants as they're coming through so that we're ahead of the ball? And it sounds like some of it may have fallen just due to construction delays, but did we have information before we started construction that told us that we were going to be really tight once we set out the bid for that process? How does that work?
Yes, we were on a very tight schedule. We went at it as hard as we could. I think one of the things that happened once we got into construction was snowfall fell really early this past 2025, and that slowed progress significantly at Gorgas Playground. The surfacing was unable to be finished. I do believe that if we would have been able to finish Gorgas first, as we thought we would, we felt we might even been able to tweak a little bit more out of the extensions, but no parks were complete. 7th and Radnor still had more landscaping that needed done. There were a lot of things that got done at 7th and Radnor maybe ahead of schedule, whereas at Gorgas, the surfacing became a serious problem because of the temperatures. It has to meet 40 degrees. We didn't really hit 40 degrees from the end of November all the way until I believe it was actually that hot. We got a hot couple of days there in February, but it didn't really work because we were thawing out the site from that big snowfall we got. So it was sort of counterproductive. So that really hampered, slowed us down in that specific site. And I already articulated what happened at Wilson. Wilson had some unforeseen issues.
Right. So where I think as far as the communication part is, right about March 3rd, that's when we should have been getting that information, at least here to this body, where we knew we weren't going to get another extension. We weren't going to hit the targets. Had we had that information, maybe it doesn't change the effect of the clawback, but it does change the effect of when people call us to say, hey, what's going on? We know what's going on, and we could have addressed this with the public and say, hey, guys, we know that we're in this situation and we've done X, Y, and Z. And actually, maybe that's a better conversation I'm having with the resident if I say, as of March 3rd, we are in danger of losing 13 million. Now we've cut it down to 2.3. That's a different conversation than, hey, we have a couple beautiful parks and oh, by the way, we're losing 2.3. That conversation is a different conversation to wrap your head around. And I just believe if we were talking about this earlier in the year, you wouldn't be sitting here with this type of a meeting right now. We'd still have the same effect. The end would be the same, but the conversation would probably be different. And it's just something that going forward, having open conversations, I believe someone said we're all on the same team. We're champions of what you do. We love what you've done so far with the parks. They're beautiful, and we want to keep more of that going forward. If we just have open lines of communication, I think it's a lot easier for us to be here defending you as opposed to being here having hard conversations at this stage in the game. I just think if we had that information earlier, it would be a lot easier. That's all I have to say. And thank you.
President Hill.
Thank you. I'm not going to belabor this any longer, but I just had one comment. I wanted to note that even through your quarterly reporting, which for everyone's benefit, we still receive, as you know, that wasn't clear. There's a projects and grants section. So there was really still no indication from the first quarter of the year, January through March of 2026, that there was any issue. I do think it would be helpful if we could have had a public dialogue around the quarterly reports like we used to do when we first started them, because I think talking it through and making sense of all of this would have now made a lot of sense, right, in hindsight. And I also think it's really easy to share a laundry list of things that you would have done or could have done had circumstances been different. But I think we just need to admit that the ball was dropped, it was severely fumbled, learn from it, and we have to move forward. Thank you.
All right. Only last question I don't know who can answer this. Going back to Exhibit A, and we look at some of the projects that we put on hold. and we're moving money. Again, we were grateful for everybody to put their money in, but at some point, these projects still have to get paid for. How do we do that?
Yeah, I'll take a I'll
You take a stab
I'll take
at
a
it?
shot at it. It's just an overview on the numbers. So when we address this reallocation request, right away the idea is to look at how we're doing budget-wise, what is available. And I mentioned to Councilwoman Rawls about the $500,000 coming out of the facilities special projects. So we reached out to directors, and I can't break down that 500 how that relates to individual projects in Dave's line for building improvements, but he was comfortable with that amount.
Being taken away.
Being taken away, still having a significant amount of budget to deal with his.
Yeah, I think he still had after that 500,000, he would have 1.7 remaining.
That's pending this group's further review and vote. In the capital projects fund, we reached out to like the engineering, and they were comfortable with utilizing 75,000 from the streets and roads. So that's not taking away or diminishing
some of the projects.
It just happens that how we're trending this year, there's that much in available potential.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
That's that. Yeah, certainly.
The reason why I'm saying that is, again, I'm glad I asked that question, because it looks like these monies were budgeted specifically for these projects, and then you take away from them. I'm just wondering, I mean.
Right. I guess the way we format or gauge the question is, what can you live without in your budget based on how we performed during the current year, and back up in the general fund too, like information in IT. We talked with the director there. He was comfortable again with taking. Those lines are not capital; they're services and supplies. But he was comfortable with us utilizing that much, thinking that will not be needed, for the balance of this year.
That's what I'm asking.
So that's a pure reallocation. When you frame it in that perspective.
Took 10 from software, 100,000 from the maintenance, 40,000 from office equipment.
Right. And a little bit to what Councilwoman Green referred to about looking at Parks and Rec. The other funds that are being utilized here for this remedy, like the special events project reimbursement fund, that's just taking available a resource that's there. It's not diminishing a project within that fund. It's a smaller public works fund. And then the Parks and Recreation Fund is just that. It's separate from the general fund. The general fund has Parks, Rec, and Enrichment as a budget unit, but this is an actual separate fund, of course, from the general fund. So there's a significant amount of funds being drawn or requested to be drawn out of the Parks and Rec Fund, namely City Island and the Reservoir Park budget units. So that total is 300,000. So that's certainly meaningful as a way to address the almost 1.9 million in transfer to supplement the grant fund from these funds.
All right, that explains Resolution 55
Very
with
good.
the 1.9 and the money being moved. But we will see you guys again. If no one else has any other question, I would ask that. Hold on.
No, I'm sorry. Okay, general fund reimbursement. Okay, the GVI grant.
Oh.
Can you explain that a little bit more? I need a little more clarification on that. Because sorry, I see GVI grant and just go. Yeah, please explain that for me. I know what it is, but I don't need any money being taken from GVI. But I know what reimbursement means.
Right.
Just please, yeah.
Is that Exhibit B?
No, she's still looking at Exhibit A.
Yes, I'm on it.
Right. No, I'm following you. So again, taking from other lines and shifting the budget, I just went through that. But the very top line on Exhibit A has interfund transfer from the state grants fund. That's that 1,616,000 plus. That includes additional accumulated interest income that's being generated within the grant in the state grants fund of $200,000. And then Councilwoman Rawls, to your point about the GVI, that is funding that really it's all about the Bureau of Police. It's to reimburse police, that's what's happening here. It's coming in, but it's a new revenue source, meaning that it's not in the original appropriation or budget for current year. So it wasn't thought out ahead of time to be already included in revenue. So now we start thinking about what are our potential untapped resources. This is one of them, to bring that grant money back into the general fund, because it was obtained by way of submitting personnel cost paid out of the general fund. That's one of the GVI grants. So it is coming into the general fund as an interfund transfer from the grants fund.
Correct. And if we weren't taking from that, would they be able to use it in the GVI program?
It's already been utilized. In other words, we have to, for these GVI grants, the city has to.
Is it a MAC?
Has to front the money. With police personnel lines like salaries, wages, overtime. And then that is submitted to, this is through PA Commission on Crime and Delinquency.
Yes.
Submit it to them, the police manager that's overseeing this, and then the city is reimbursed. And it comes back when it's a grant, so it comes back and is deposited to the grants fund, but then the proper move is to send it to the general fund to reimburse what's already been incurred and paid from the general fund.
I mean, I do understand that.
Okay.
I do. Okay.
It's a revenue resource for the general fund overall.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for your time. I would ask that Resolution 55 of 2026 be moved to our next legislative session for vote, and I ask my colleagues to support.
Thank you. Next, we have the work of the Community and Economic Development Committee. I will defer to our Community and Economic Development Committee Chairman, Councilman Lawson, to lead discussion.
Thank you, President Hill. Mr. Humphreys, could you please read Bill 8, 2026 in?
Bill 8 of 2026, an ordinance appropriating community development block grant program funds from the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development for fiscal years 2023, 2024, and 2025, and authorizing expenditure of such funds.
Thank you very much. And I think we may have some somewhat familiar faces rejoining us. Thank you. If you guys could just once again, just introduce yourselves and give us a quick overview.
Gloria Martin Roberts, Director of Building and Housing.
Ashima Bussey, Program Manager for the Community Development Block Grant.
Patrice Dawkins, Program Manager of ESG and Home.
Great. And if you have just a small overview of what we're doing here, and that'll get everyone's mind back to, I think, what we were looking at just a little bit earlier.
Okay, so the Community Development Block Grant is federal funding that goes towards housing rehab, infrastructure, and things that can enhance the economic development for the city and benefit low to moderate income individuals. So that's like the summary. And we are planning to finally move forward with allocating our 2023 and 2024 monies for the CDBG pot of money that we have left right now, and also the 2025 allocation as well.
Okay, thank you. And this money was previously awarded. It's just now we're looking to get it out the door. What do we have here?
Yes, it was previously awarded, and there were some delays. Ms. Gloria, do you want to expound on that, or should I?
We actually received applications last May, And those applications were reviewed, evaluated, and the applications that were successful were taken to the mayor. But they didn't, we weren't able to move them forward because of some conflicts of interest. And so that's where the delay has come in.
What type of conflicts of interest were?
People on council maybe having a family member, or people having a family member that work for some of the subrecipients.
Okay, and did we clear then the conflicts?
Well, the conflicts have been resolved now for two of the entities. The outstanding issue is for a CCU, Christian Churches United. And I think I reported earlier that a letter has to go to HUD asking for an exception. I have spoken to HUD numerous times. Actually, they were here earlier this year on a site visit and indicated that they didn't see a conflict because we've been funding, we the city, have been funding CCU for many years. And so we're waiting now to have that letter sent by, I can't send it, the Law Bureau has to send it to HUD and for an exception.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any further questions myself, but I will open this to my colleagues and I will go to my immediate left. I guess they called you president earlier, but I think you were at one point vice president, but we'll just go with Councilwoman Green, please.
Thank you. I don't have any questions regarding this. Thank you.
Then President, the actual president, Hill, if you could please, do you have
Thank
any
you.
questions?
I just wanted to clarify two things. So you mentioned Christian Churches United, and the conflict you mentioned earlier was your daughter is employed there. Is that correct? Okay. Just wanted to make sure it was the same thing. And I just wanted to note for the meeting record that it's noted here that the Broad Street Market funds are included on these exhibits, but those funds were previously allocated through City Council's approval of Resolution 40 of 2026, and their inclusion on these exhibits is only to reflect a comprehensive view of the 2023, 2024, and 2025 CDBG budgets. So I just wanted to note that in the event that somebody is following the bill. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Councilwoman Rawls?
Thank you, yes. And thank you, Ms. Martin Roberts, for bringing up the conflict of interest. I know one was my sister-in-law. So since that has been cleared, am I allowed to vote on this? Is that the okay to vote? Because the last time what happened was I was unaware there was a conflict of interest because paperwork was missing from the resolution to allude me to that. So I believe money was then pulled back or not being able to be distributed. And so now that that's been cleared, am I allowed to vote on that at our next legislative session?
Yes. If the conflict is cleared, then you don't have an issue. If the conflict remained, you would have to state the conflict and state why you're recusing yourself from the vote. But since the conflict is waived, then yes.
Okay, I just wanted that confirmation because I did not want this to happen again. Okay, thank you very much. That was my only question.
Okay, thank you. And Councilwoman Davis?
Thank you, Councilman Lawson. I have one question. Director Martin Roberts, you mentioned that the appropriations that go to the grant administration was for staffing. Can you elaborate a little bit more in terms of what staffing is doing with that money, please?
Well, the administration dollars, the administration dollars are for those persons that are responsible for the programs, and that pays their salaries and benefits.
So salaries, benefits, and that's it? Okay,
Supplies, things like that.
thank you. That's it, Councilman Lawson, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And
May I also make a comment that
Yes, please.
I recused myself 2 years ago when I started here, and because I knew that CCU would be a part of the application process for subrecipients. So I did recuse myself. I sent the recusal letter to the Law Bureau, to HUD, everyone that needed to have a copy of that, so it wasn't a surprise to anyone. In addition to that, I didn't touch anything related to CCU that came in to my department. That was given to our project director for asset management to handle those things directly, so to avoid any potential conflict.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that. And my other colleagues seem to not be here, but I will make a statement that as Wild Heart is one of the recipients of the funds, I do serve on the board of Wild Heart. I'm going to recommend that we move this to our legislative session, but I will not be voting on this because I do serve on the board. So I will recuse myself from the actual vote on this measure. But with that, even though I'm recusing myself from the vote, I will free you guys from sitting here because I'm not sure when the gentleman will come back. If they have further questions, they will be able to ask them at
I'm
our
available if
legislative.
they have questions.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And then I recommend that we move Bill 8 to our next legislative session. And Mr. Humphrey, could you read Resolution 56 into the record?
Resolution 56 of 2026, a resolution approving the preliminary/final lot consolidation and land development plan for 100 North 13th Street, 112 North 13th Street, and 105 through 121 Linden Street, along with associated site and access improvements.
Great. Gentlemen, please come and grab a seat here at the desk.
Excuse me. Sorry. Excuse me. Thank you. Gracias.
All right, and if you don't mind, please introduce yourselves so that we have it for the record.
Sure. Yeah, good evening. I'm Zane Geist. I'm project manager with Integrated Consulting, the civil design consultant for this project.
My name is David Aldaz, one of the owners or members of Housing Horizons, owner of the projects.
Okay, great. Thank you. Gentlemen, we are somewhat familiar with the project, but we sent you away with a few homework assignments. Right. So if you could just bring us up to date with, I guess, a little bit more about the project to refresh everyone's memory, and also let us know what you've done since you were last here before us.
Okay.
Sure. I'll kick this off again, just as a brief reintroduction about the project. So this is a existing old printing press building that's located along at 100 North 13th Street that the applicant/owner is proposing to rehabilitate. Well, that's not good.
Go ahead.
We have a weak leg. My apologies. Let's try this again. As I was mentioning, this is an existing building that the applicant owner is rehabilitating at 100 North 13th Street. Along with that are a group of parcels behind the building along Linden Street that they are also they've purchased and are using that to develop a off-street parking area for the future residents. So this includes 12 units with ADA accessibility. And maintaining the existing facade structure while rehabilitating the inside. There will be a stormwater management facility for runoff between the building and the next parcel along 13th Street there, and then as well as handicap parking in the back, dumpster enclosure. It was briefly mentioned that this had gone through HARB for approval because of it being within the Summit Terrace neighborhood. We did receive their approval for this project. And lastly, we had received the planning comments and city engineer and Capital Region Water comments at this point, and we've had no objections to the comments and the conditions that were part of the recommended approval for this from PC. I would like to give the applicant here or the representative, the owner, an opportunity to speak upon the points that were brought up the last time we were in front of you to explain the work that has been done to address those items thus far.
Oh, okay. Well, I appreciate it, and good evening one more time. Well, so since, we're excited to start this project because, it's been abandoned for over 50 years, and this is a motivation for the community to see something going on. As of right now, basically, we did the cleanup of the building, and as well, we did some tank removal that has been abandoned there, so we can start, with the funding procedures from the banking perspective. As of right now, we also, have been talking to the school district because we have a bus stop right there during the construction soon. School will be coming soon, so we decided to move the bus stop to a different location, which is, the kids has been our fans, seeing the progress of what's going on because it's been abandoned a while. Yeah.
I was just going to clarify. So the bus stop, that would be relocated during construction across the street per the correspondence, but then the exhibit that I actually have here, and I think maybe would have been part of the printout there, we're also proposing to put 2 additional bus, warning stop signs, or bus stop signs along the frontage of the building there.
Exactly. Right. So we also, had a nice conversation. We walk around the building and see, the destruction, what is going to happen. And additionally, we're working on adding or giving 1 to 2 units to have it, at the house, Harrisburg Housing Authority right there, somewhere in the range of $11.50 for the rental price. To have those, which is a percentage of out of the 12 units, could be around 20 to 25% of our, margins for the rental right there, and as well, we will keep, inform the community with flyers. We put some signs in the front of the building so that they understand what we're doing with the project, and as well, we also, recording our progress to show what has been, happening around this part of the building or in the community. And additionally, we are being, preparing and hiring local contractors around the area here at Harrisburg. So we're being, providing basically jobs for, the next month. We're preparing, a couple groups, electricians, plumbers, drywall, everybody, different groups that are local from the Harrisburg community, basically. So they can be part of this project for us, which is big deal for us right now. Yep. And I saw yours.
Yeah, the packet that was handed out to you does have a flyer with a QR code. I think that was something that was suggested at the previous meeting as well, for that to be distributed amongst the community members. I do believe, Councilman Jones, you were involved with part of the coordination process of the getting together with the Summit Terrace as well. And I think the applicant has done the best due diligence that they can in the time period that was allotted to address these questions that were brought up at the last meeting. But we'd open the floor to additional questions at this time.
Okay, thank you. I do want to thank you for taking our questions seriously. That was something that we do appreciate here, and that you didn't just give lip service, at least from what we can see at this point here. You did make the effort, and I've been in touch with Mr. Neal through the process. I know that he's working with Harrisburg Housing in trying to get set up so that he can start accepting applicants who are Section 8 approved to become, residents and figure out a way to make the rents work for them as well. And I will open the floor to my colleagues and let them ask you questions that they may have, because I know that they had some concerns and they want to make sure that that there is more follow through and that it's not just the lip service. So I will start at the far left here, and Councilwoman Davis, please.
Thank you, Councilman Lawson. Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your due diligence and going out and working on the questions, getting the answers to the questions that we asked. I appreciate that you are willing to allow for 2 units to be affordable. Those units don't necessarily have to be Section 8, I don't think, but they do need to be affordable. Am I correct with that?
That's correct.
Okay. How do we ever know that developers are complying with this request? I mean, is there any way to know? Because
That's a much longer discussion.
okay.
There were 4 bills passed at one time. There were problems with the original metrics for measuring. The council passed replacement metrics, and frankly, not that many have signed up to get the benefits of those ordinances and have gone their own way in affordability. So, but like giving them the benefits is what lets us get to metrics, to measurement. But I'm not sure if 2 have gone the whole route at this point.
You're not sure who?
If even 2 developers have gone the whole route under our package of ordinances, and it's worth revisiting the question at some point, are they working, are they not working? But part of that was because of COVID. It's stopped a lot of things, and then people started back up in a different world, both financially. But we can compare notes with codes, with planning, with the business office. But I don't know that there are 2 developers that have gone the whole way.
And when you say the whole way, you mean
from applying under the program and then finishing under the program and getting the benefits of the program. So you get certain benefits, you get density changes in your zoning, depending what zone you live in under the code. You get some parking differences, waivers, depending what part of the city you're in. But I'm not sure anyone's made it to the other side. By the time they were done with construction cost and those things. But that's a bigger picture question.
That's unfortunate because we don't know if our residents are going to actually benefit, but.
Well, we do know that hundreds of more units have been built than there hadn't been many units built in a couple of decades. There's hundreds more units built and approved now to be built. And that has gone on the last 4 years where there's more and more units. So there is a thirst because of the housing shortage to build more units. And, that's whether it's conversion or whether it's new, both things are happening.
Okay, thank you. Sure. That's my only question at this time, Councilman Lawson.
Thank you. Councilman Rodriguez.
Thank you, Chair Lawson. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us this evening. I guess my only sentiments are to show a bit of appreciation for taking our comments, thoughts, suggestions in the previous work session and actually getting to work right away with it. Of course, the youth is always going to be, a top priority, as well as our residents, and to take in consideration and work with the school district and have that bus stop move to ensure the safety of those, young pedestrians riding the bus to and from. I think it speaks volumes. There are a lot of developers that come in and it's all lip service. So we do appreciate you guys actually taking what council says, for value and actually enacting something. I scanned the QR code. I heavily appreciate, the new chapter for 13 from Walnut, all the information. It's quick, it's easy, it's accessible. So when residents have more questions, they can just scan and go. I feel it's night and day as to when you guys first came and proposed, and that could just be due to the historic nature of this property and how many developers have came before you. I do see, a lot more work to do by way of engagement and just ensuring that's what the residents, really want. But I do see, steps have been taken, and for that I am appreciative. That's all I have. Thank you.
Councilwoman Ross.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry I wasn't here for your presentation, but I know you've already been in front of us before and you were coming back. And of course, I read over the resolution and I have my packet here, and I also scanned the QR code. So I wanted to say, I don't have any questions, just sentiments of one, thank you for taking our thoughts and comments about the rent into consideration and being able to lower it so that when residents do go pay utilities, then it's still not as high. It's something that can be built in. I think that piece and also the QR code, and I'm talk about that a little bit more, shows a type of leadership we're looking for developers who come in here. We're not looking for you to come in with perfection, but to come in and when you come in front of council, we have concerns, you're able to step back and say, okay, maybe we missed something. Maybe we didn't see the whole community, but now we hear what they're saying and we're able to, change our course and rethink our plan and come back in front of us. I think that shows true leadership, and I hope that other developers who come in front of us who maybe missed the mark a little bit are able to step back and do the same. The other part, I love the QR code. That's exactly what I was looking for. Hope it can go somewhere on the building. Is that able to go somewhere like on the door or something where neighbors can scan it and bring up the information?
That's correct. We're gonna put it, multiple, ways of the building, so that way they can see, internally as well how it's gonna look, the exterior, the parking space, and everything like that. Yeah.
I love that. And I think that's what we're looking for the future of Harrisburg when it comes to communication, because it's a different mode. Everybody may not make the meeting, or somebody may not even be in that neighborhood or live there, but want to, and like, oh, wait, this is what's going on here, and able to scan it and see what's coming. Correct. And that's how you get that spark of wanting to come and live in Harrisburg. Right. So just thank you. And I hope moving forward, other developers see this episode of City Council and understand what we're looking for our city and what the residents are looking for their city. So,
and as well, in every deal or property that we're renovating around Harrisburg, like on State Street, 17th Street, that's how we're doing it, in every property that we're rebuilding around. So that way people are informed. And as well, we started also a YouTube channel as well to start, showing what we are actually doing around too. Yeah, so we're going to clean Harrisburg.
All right. I love that. Look, innovation, working together. Exactly. I love that. That's teamwork. It. Yes, teamwork. Thank you. Mm-hmm. That's it for me.
Are you? Never mind. I'm sorry. Are you sure? President Hill.
Thank you. I'll be brief. Thank you for listening. I appreciate that you were able to make contact with the Summit Terrace Neighborhood Association, because I know that they're very actively engaged. So I was happy to hear that they are supportive of this project. Also, thank you for considering affordability. As you know, I will always champion affordability for the residents of the city of Harrisburg. So I was happy to see and hear that you've taken that into consideration. So thank you.
Okay. Vice President Jones.
No questions for you guys. I had the opportunity and finally got inside of that building. I was looking to get in there, and I finally got in there. But you guys are doing a great job. And as I was there with them and some of the Summit Terrace committee, people in the neighborhood were questioning about the tank, and then when I turned around, it was gone. So you guys work pretty fast. So I just say good luck, man, and keep up the good work.
Appreciate it.
And Councilwoman Green.
Thank you very much. I don't have any questions for you. Thank you for listening. I think my colleagues kind of covered our sentiment, so thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Gentlemen, I appreciate your willingness to listen to suggestions of council. We need more of this, period. First, the development of properties, because we're going to bring down the cost of housing by getting more units on the shelf. But not all development is good development, and the fact that you've taken our recommendations and you put it into your work, it speaks volumes. So I will happily suggest that we put this Resolution 56 of 2026 on our next legislative session, and I pray that my colleagues support it. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. The final committee business this evening lies with the Public Works Committee. I will defer to our Public Works Committee Chair, Councilman Rodriguez, to lead discussion.
Thank you, Madam President. I will begin committee business just by recognizing an incident or a storm that just occurred on Saturday, July 4th of 2026. A catastrophic storm swept the Harrisburg area and caused severe damage to our neighborhoods. This storm caused power outages and downed trees across the capital city that our families are still facing issues from currently. To be completely transparent, my power was just restored last night, and the few days without service was rather challenging for my family. Although this was a difficult time for our city and residents, I would like to highlight the positive from such a negative circumstance. Thank you to our Public Works team that worked around the clock away from their families on a national holiday to ensure trees were cleaned up and all safety measures were taken, such as stop signs, replacing down traffic lights, and all hazards were affected and replaced. These actions were noticed, and I'd be remiss not to mention this. Also, without power, I noticed something I have not seen in quite some time. I've noticed children outside playing, in the parks, being social, with no violence, and that alone is a true testament of creating a positive from a negative. I also heard stories from and read social media posts of neighbors being neighborly and assisting each other in their times of need and restoring a true sense of that nostalgic, it takes a village mentality. I'm proud of the city and how we all pulled together. Although some are still without power and facing hardships, I say to you, hang in there. And if there's anything we can do as your representatives, please reach out and let us know. My prayers are with you, and we can persevere through anything together. Tonight, the Public Works Committee will be discussing one bill and two resolutions. Deputy Clerk Humphreys, please read Bill 11 of 2026 into the record.
Bill 11 of 2026, an ordinance amending the traffic control maps of the City of Harrisburg pursuant to Section 3-109.2A of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Harrisburg, with the addition of a permitted school zone in the vicinity of the 1500 block of North 3rd Street, designated herein a safety zone governed by the provisions of subsection G of Section 3-109.1A, and otherwise authorizing related enforcement.
Thank you for that. And I see our engineer and Director West are with us, which either of you would like to speak briefly on Bill 11 of 2026.
Sure, thank you. So before this council meeting, I kind of checked my email records when this first started. This has been over a year in the making, just to kind of show that this is not a quick process, but late spring of last year, the PA STEAM Academy located at 3rd and Riley approached the city and asked if we would be interested in looking into a school safety zone on 3rd Street. We went through the study process, and it was determined that one school zone was warranted. Since there's, it'll be like the flashing beacons where it says slow down to 15 miles an hour through this area. And since it's a flashing signal, it also has to be permitted by PennDOT, which also adds review time. We've gone through the process. PennDOT has approved our layout, which would be starting from Calder Street to Harris Street along 3rd Street for the safety zone. And the last implementation will be then approval by City Council to have this safety zone warranted and enforceable.
Awesome. Thank you for that. I think they've been trying to achieve this for quite some time by way of the Charter Academy. Was it because they were zoned initially like industrial? I forget what the reason was. I spoke with them a while ago about it.
That must have been before my time.
Right,
I don't
yeah,
know
it
the
definitely
history.
was. It definitely was. I know they've been trying to accomplish this for some time, but that's amazing. Director West, would you like to add anything to that?
Yes, at that time it was under the leadership of Hack. Hack had all of those buildings in that entire area, and this turnover when the charter school came. That's when we needed this initiative to happen.
All right, awesome. I'll open it up to my colleagues for any questioning, starting with Councilman Lawson.
Thank you, Chair Rodriguez, and thank you, gentlemen, for coming out here. And then is this where we have like the raised crosswalk in that area where they'd be
No, this is just going to be pavement markings designating a school zone, as well as the flashing beacon kind of indicating motorists to slow down to 15 miles an hour.
Right. Right now, they currently have a raised crosswalk.
Yeah, it'll encompass
there.
that area.
It's going to encompass that same area, so
Correct.
that's great. That's just going to make it a little safer for the kids crossing. I think it's important because not everyone recognizes, even though they have crossing guards, they have the raised crosswalk, I still see cars flying right up to the crossing guard and coming to a complete stop because he's putting his life on the line just stopping the cars that are coming there. So getting this change is going to be pretty big, I think, for the kids that are crossing. So thanks for the effort you put into it.
You're welcome.
Thank you for that. Councilwoman Green.
Thank you very much. I don't have any questions regarding this. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you for that, Madam President.
Thank you. I don't have any questions. I think it's cool to see that the device will be solar powered and then it'll flash like between 50 and no more than 60 times per minute by an approved flashing mechanism. So the yellow lens will change, I'm assuming, to red.
No, it's only going to be yellow.
Okay,
yellow
and then
lights.
it will flash
Correct.
all those times in a minute. So that's pretty cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Councilwoman Rawls.
Good evening. I don't have any questions. Anything that's going to make our streets or crosswalks safer for our students is always welcome. So thank you.
All right, thank you for that. And with that being said, I move to add Bill 11 of 2026 to our next legislative session.
Councilman, can I just add one more?
Absolutely.
So we may have jumped the gun a little bit on this, but we've included this installation as part of our Seneca Street paving project. So it's already in process of being installed, just pending council approval.
Well, thank you for that. And as noted, I'd like to move to add Bill 11 of 2026 into our next legislative session. And moving forward, we will go in with Resolution 57 of 2026. Mr. Humphrey, please read Resolution 57 of 2026 into the record.
Resolution 57 of 2026, a resolution ratifying the submission of a grant application to the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation Automated Red Light Enforcement Transportation Enhancements Grant Program in the amount of $48,000 to provide funding for accessible pedestrian signals at 3 intersections.
Thank you for that. Mr. Siders, will you or Mr. West like to speak to that?
Sure. I like the idea behind this grant. So it was initiated by the Department of Labor and Industry. They went to their local PennDOT District 8 office up on Her Street, and then PennDOT then reached out to the city to ask if we would apply for this grant on their behalf. So I think this grant really shows that the city is in coordination constantly with our sister state agencies, and I know there's been some backlash in media saying that we have a disagreement, and that's not the case. I'm in contact with PennDOT on a weekly basis. The Department of Labor and Industry brought up, I guess, a concern that they have some, it's either visitors or employees in their building on 7th and Forester Street that are visually impaired. These upgrades to these 3 intersections, which would be Commonwealth and Forester, 7th and Forester, and Boas and Commonwealth, the pedestrian crosswalks would be upgraded to an audible system, kind of like 3rd and Riley. When you push the button, you get a audible indication when it's clear to cross, and that's kind of the indication for this grant. And then I will also point out that this is a ratification. The grant was submitted on June 30th.
Thank you for that. And I'm aware I've attended meetings with yourself and the administration about similar discussions and how important it is to get those individuals with, disabilities, all the assistance they can get. So this is huge. Are there any, besides those locations, of course, we may have to apply for other grants, but any other that we've identified that may have that similar need?
Not at this time, not for this grant.
Okay, awesome. So once again, I'll open it up to my colleagues, starting with Councilman Lawson.
Thank you, Chair Rodriguez. No questions. I applaud it. I love seeing us work with our state partners and work in cooperation, and also love the idea that we're helping people that are visually impaired cross the street safely. Again, this city, one of our biggest drawbacks, I believe, is traffic safety, and anything we can do to make it safer for our residents, I'm all for it. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Green.
I don't have any questions regarding this. Thank you.
Absolutely. Councilman Jones.
No questions.
President Hill.
I don't have any questions. I'm happy that we are being inclusive and providing support. Thank you.
Absolutely. Councilwoman Ross.
So I don't have any questions, but thank you for clearing up that the relationship between us and PennDOT, because I think sometimes there's swirling things. So thank you for clearing that up.
Absolutely. And thank you for touching on that. And with that, I move to add Resolution 57 of 2026 to our next legislative session. And moving forward, Mr. Humphrey, please read Resolution 58 of 2026 into the record.
Resolution 58, 2026, a resolution approving the disposal, destruction, recycling, or donation of certain personal property owned by the city of Harrisburg, which have exhausted their useful life for city operations.
Thank you for that. And this is a resolution that has come down to us quite often, so we're pretty familiar with this procedure. Director West, would you like to touch on Resolution 58 of 2026 for the public, please?
Okay. Yes, so city has some vehicles from various departments, police, sanitation, fire, that has passed its use of life. And we try first to trade in this equipment for a value to purchase new equipment. But when you are past the life of equipment, the vendors will not give you the value that you would like to receive from this equipment. So if you're able to sell it, you would receive more funding versus that way.
All right. Thank you for that. I'll open it up to my colleagues, starting with my left, Councilwoman Davis.
Good evening again, Director West. I don't have any questions.
Thank you. Councilwoman Rawls.
I don't have any questions.
Thank you, Madam President.
I don't have any questions, but if you wouldn't mind just giving me a few moments of privilege here. I wanted to say this while you were seated in front of me before you got up. I just wanted to personally thank you and Public Works. I do have the names, so I'm going to read them off. Director West, Mr. John Watson, Terrell Spriggs, Will Bowie, Troy Von Fields, Mark Baker, and Daryl Harley for all of your assistance to my neighbors and my family during the storm. A huge tree branch fell. It was basically the size of a whole nother tree. On a few cars on my block, and you all were ever present. So I'm very grateful that no one was seriously injured, but I can't thank you enough for your assistance.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. Councilman Jones.
Yeah, it pays to be a councilman on the block when, I want to say thank you too as well. Anytime I tap your line for some of the residents, they need assistance, you guys take care of it. But I don't have any questions regarding this resolution. This is something, again, like Councilman Rodriguez said, that we're used to seeing. So no questions.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Green.
Thank you very much. I don't have any questions regarding this resolution. I mean, Public Works gets a lot of praise because you always do great. So just kind of, I guess, repeating the obvious, but it's always good to say it. So thank you.
Thank you.
And Councilman Lawson.
Thank you, Chair Rodriguez. No questions, but I do want to, just because we had a tough conversation earlier, want to say that we do see the great work that you do with your department across the city. Just the fact that we have roads that we can drive now after that storm, it's amazing the work that you guys have done in this short period of time. So thank you for that. I didn't realize about the tree that fell in President Hill's neighborhood. Thank you for reaching out and helping her and her neighbors. It's amazing the stuff that you've been doing. And you reached out to me about work that you guys were doing when I sent out an email looking for help for residents, but you were actually doing the work. Instead of responding to my email, you were doing the work that my email was requesting. So we want to thank you for just being right on top of it and making sure that your department is staying in the forefront. So tough questions earlier in the night, but now we want to pat you on the back and say thank you for a job well done.
Thank you. Tough is always good because tough makes us better, and we can continue to get better because no one is perfect. So continuing to go on to the levels of getting better is where we strive for.
Thank you. And that's the reason for the questioning that we have and why we're asking for more clarification, because it didn't make a lot of sense for us, but we knew that if we ask the tough questions, you can get it to where it does start making more sense for the future. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. To my colleagues, Director West, is there anything you'd like to add on top of that by way of any of the resolutions of the bill?
No, we will continue to get better. We're almost finished, accomplished the picking up the rest of the trees. Will be done tomorrow, and we have direct contact with PP&L, so we're able to get the trees out the street. So even in that process, because of what was a tragedy, we've gotten better with communication with our other entities, our utilities, so we're able to have direct connects now that we can get accomplished faster than what we did this time.
Which is amazing and super beneficial to the city and the residents. So thank you.
Yes.
And with that being said, I'd like to move to add Resolution 58 of 2026 to our next legislative session. And that concludes the work of the Public Works Committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will move forward with our meeting agenda. Next, we have public comment. If you're interested in offering a public comment, please come to the microphone to my right. State your name and your address for the meeting record. If you don't feel comfortable sharing your address, please share the vicinity in which you live. You will have 4 minutes to share your comments. Mr. Humphrey has added a timer to the screen for your reference. I'll begin to my right. Is there anyone that would like to offer public comment?
My name is Melanie Cook. I live in Riverside, and I too want to begin my comments by thanking Mr. West and the Public Works Department. I was there yesterday when their power had gone out, and they are, as usual, were exceedingly helpful and responsive, and do it with a smile. The city needs to set Public Works up at the top of the pyramid as a division that all others, most particularly codes, should aspire to be. I sat here tonight and listened to the comments about Mr. West and also the development project that is going in the Summit Hill Terrace. That is the second time that I've heard of a developer who has actually addressed the questions and concerns of council. I said before, with respect to the Polyclinic project, those developers should be placed on a special list and prioritize their projects. Because if we want that sort of reaction, we have to reward those people who put that forward. I want to acknowledge Councilwoman Asha Green for her comment at the top of this meeting many hours ago, when she pointed out that the disaster relief planning, if there is a policy in place, the emergency solutions grant can be used. I have neighbors on my block who literally just got their electricity on today, went 72 hours without electricity. And we need something for these people other than 3 bags of ice and 3 gallons of water. People lost food, and it was not just an inconvenience. We live in a city where people don't necessarily have the resources to stay in a hotel, and we need to do better as a city to make sure that needs are met when these sort of disasters take place. I also want to acknowledge the developers who spoke today came back in response. 2 weeks ago when I was here, council had no questions for the Blueprint Communities anchor sponsor who came forward at the last minute with a proposal. I suggest that when that happens, the council say, look, we need to ask questions. We're not prepared to do so. We need you to come back in 2 weeks. Because there was a lot of questions that could have and should have been asked about that project, most notably why the entity that created the project is referred to as a federal home loan bank when the anchor person said it's not a home loan and it's not a bank. So then why are you calling yourself a home loan if that is not actually what you are? We have to be able to ask pointed questions and they need to come back to answer it. Also, I want to get to the situation with respect to the parks. And I say that with a chuckle because I am imploring those who are writing to focus on the positive today. But in order to avoid the absolute situation, and I'm going to call it a calamity, that occurred when we have to give back at least $4.2 million, that could have and should have been avoided. Those projects were scheduled to be completed in 2025. They were not. We have to start at the top of the pyramid as to why Jackson Lick was taken off of the proposal. And that was because the attorneys could not reach a consensus because the city apparently applied for the grant without knowing that the pool was actually owned. It still is actually owned by the school district. There is a great deal more to what occurred that has to be discussed. Mr. West, the blame should not be put on him. There were competent program managers who started that project and were dismissed. That has to be a separate meeting where people talk about what happened because that should not have occurred. And the Reservoir Park situation, we need to see that resolved. And I hope that you will create a forum to address it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else to my right that would like to offer public comment? Okay, seeing and hearing no one. Anyone in the middle section? Okay, seeing and hearing no one. Anyone to my left?
Good evening, Honorable Council. My name is Rhonda Mays. I'm a resident of NOAA, North Allison Hill in the city of Harrisburg, and I'm also the director of the Fair Housing Council of the Capital Region. As discussed previously, the Fair Housing Council serves primarily the residents of the city of Harrisburg within the low and moderate income community. We've been doing so since 1973. We are also a federally approved housing counseling agency. But tonight I want to speak about that, our grant process and the issues that we seem to be having, professionally and effectively managing the funds that we receive and should be using with the residents in mind and being responsible stewards of the funds for our community. And I had planned on making my own comments tonight, but a friend of mine, Heather Tidwell, who is the president of Pivot Forward Properties, sent me what she planned to say tonight, but unfortunately Heather is sick and she can't make it. So I'm going to briefly read this and keep in mind that this is Heather speaking. My name is Heather Tidwell. I work in affordable housing, community development, and grants management in central Pennsylvania. And I've been following the park situation and tonight's agenda very closely. You have three things in front of you tonight that are deeply connected. An ordinance to appropriate 3 years of ESG, an ordinance to appropriate 3 years of home, an ordinance to appropriate 3 years of CDBG, plus a 2026 action plan that reprograms prior year resources. Taken together, these documents say something very serious about how Harrisburg is managing its federal funding. First, the city receives CDBG home and ESG automatically every October. We are an entitlement city. We receive millions every year without having to compete. Second, instead of clean year-by-year programming and spend down, you are appropriating 2023, 2024, and 2025 funds all at once and updating prior year resources into the 2026 plan. In home alone, nearly $1 million from those 3 years is still sitting unallocated. In CDBG, multiple years show heavy allocations to Broad Street Market, debt service, and demolition, while other neighborhoods and housing needs are squeezed into what is left. Third, this is happening in the same city hall that just lost millions from a CDBG COVID park grant after missing multiple deadlines, even with extensions. The pattern is clear. This is not a lack of money. This is a lack of grant literacy and project management. I want to be very direct here. When an entitlement city regularly rolls prior CDBG home and ESG forward, appropriates 3 years at once, and leaves large balances unallocated, I'm almost done. Can I have another second? That is a systems failure. When the same culture is put in charge of a one-time complex park grant, you get clawbacks and headlines. The 2026 Annual Action Plan reads beautifully. It talks about needs, goals, citizen participation, coordination with partners. On paper, Harrisburg looks like a textbook HUD grantee, but the financial tables and ordinances tell a different story. We are constantly catching up, revising, reprogramming, and cleaning up past years instead of managing grants as disciplined end-to-end process. So my ask tonight is simple, and it's not partisan, and it's not political. Please stop treating these ordinances as routine housekeeping. They are warning signs. Before you approve them, acknowledge publicly that Harrisburg is an entitlement city. I will send this to you if I cannot have 30 seconds to complete my statement.
Thank you. If you wouldn't mind sending it to us, or you can
This
share
is
it with the
important.
deputy city clerk and he will distribute it.
I will
Thank you.
give that to you now.
If there's no further public comment, seeing and hearing none, the time is 8:29 p.m. I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Thank you. We stand adjourned.